Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey and Literature. I'm your host, Captain Mike, and I'm excited about this video for a couple of reasons. The first one is that we're drinking whiskey and we're kind of day drinking today, but it's okay. We're just having small sips. Also excited today because we're welcome back to the channel. Steven, welcome back to Whiskey and Literature.
Thanks.
You've done a couple of videos, book videos. This is your first whiskey one with us.
It is.
I'm excited. Your first time drinking whiskey?
Nope.
No.
One of my first. One of my first, but
so what kind of whiskey drinker are you?
I don't know. I'm getting into it. A couple of the scotches have appealed to me, but I honestly couldn't tell you one way or the other in terms of rye, barley, wheat, American, Scottish, just still trying it all out.
Well, aren't we all? I think I've been drinking fairly heavily for the past year now, maybe, and trying a whole bunch of different whiskeys. And I'll say that my favorite whiskey from a year ago is probably not my favorite whiskey today.
Yeah.
And our palates evolve as we drink different whiskeys and experience new things. And like, oh, I think this is the best whiskey. And then you drink another one, you're like, whoa, that just blew your mind. So I think it's great to try new whiskeys. And we're going to try two new ones from me today. We're doing just a really small blind here, and forgive the audio. We're in Steven's house here in Arizona. Thanks for letting me invite myself to your house.
Always welcome. Usually.
Yeah, usually, for a small amount of time. And it's a little echoey in here, so we're kind of out of sorts. Don't have our Glencairns, we have just regular glasses. So we're just making do. We're just gonna have a little bit of fun and nothing too serious today, and not like a deep dive into these whiskeys or anything. But let's go through what we got. This was at your house. You've had a couple of pours of this.
Yeah, this is my first time with this as well. Really liked it. This was a gift, and glad to have received it.
Awesome.
Something I try to keep to good occasions, happy occasions. So.
A gift. Someone brought you whiskey?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I've only had a couple of people bring me whiskey to my house, and it's good. It's nice. I've enjoyed all the bottles that guys have brought to me, and I've taken bottles to guys' houses and shared with them, and that's part of the fun. Like that's kind of what it's about, is sharing and having these experiences with each other. So these are both Scotch whiskeys. Yours is a blended Scotch whiskey, Duncan Taylor Scotch Whiskey Limited, aged 12 years, matured in oak cask. I think that kind of goes without saying. Most Scotch whiskeys are aged in ex-American oak cask. That's just kind of how the barrels make their way through, American bourbons or whiskeys, and they go to Scotland, and then maybe they'll go down and do rum or something like that. And some of those barrels are quite old. So I've never had this. It is 40 ABV. So I looked at the website, not a whole lot of information. Duncan Taylor, honestly, never even heard of those guys until you showed me this bottle of whiskey yesterday.
I'd never heard of them either. Obviously, I've not heard of many.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
My time.
Not surprising.
I can't really name more than a handful.
Okay. So Duncan
seems readily available as well.
It is. I mean, we went to the store yesterday. This is $27.99. Did you notice that they have other Duncan Taylors there?
I want to say there was a larger bottle. I am not sure if it was aged 12 years. I do want to say there was another one there that wasn't aged for 12 years.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So they have different ones. That's cool. Anyway, good. So a blended Scotch whiskey. So it says blended Scotch whiskey. You're going to nerd out just very briefly. That just means it's a blend of single malt and single grain whiskeys. And looking at the website, really all it says is it's a blend of at least 20 different Scotch whiskeys, single malts and single grains. That's it. Did I say $27.99 for the bottle?
I think you did, yeah.
$27.99. So pretty good deal. And I think with blended Scotch whiskeys, that basically you're gonna have some of those are column stilled and some of them are pot stilled. And maybe the bulk of it is the column stilled, and that makes the bulk of the whiskey. And then the pot still ones are kind of the flavoring whiskeys, if you will. That brings the depth and complexity to the whiskey. And that's great, but that's how they make it so it's inexpensive. I was gonna say cheap, but inexpensive, $27. That's a pretty good deal, 12-year-old whiskey. And also sometimes they use the barrels multiple times. And so sometimes they're a little less expensive because they're twice and thrice used barrels. So
yeah.
But I don't know that about Duncan Taylor. It's just something that I've read, and could possibly be a reason why it's so inexpensive. But okay, great. And we almost bought the Johnny Walker Black, which is also a blended whiskey, which you haven't had.
Correct.
But we're kind of afraid it would taste so similar, we wouldn't be able to distinguish. So we went with a single malt instead. And how do you say this again? You looked it up.
Oh, I think it was Glenmorangie.
Glenmorangie.
Don't quote me on it.
So I've been saying Glenmorangie, and I don't even know what the truth is. But this is the 10-year. I've become a fan of this distillery. I drank 12 Scotch whiskeys in one night, and my favorite was the Glenmorangie 15-year Cabell Estate Batch 2. I like this so much, I went out and bought the Batch 3 as well. I haven't had the Batch 10, but I'm about to. So I was gonna pour them in the glass, but they're already poured. So this was $39.99, aged 10 years. It's a Highland single malt. It's called the original. It says smooth, creamy, luscious, orange, honey, vanilla, peach. Okay, aged 10 years in bourbon casks. No real other information on the bottle or on the website, but I haven't had this one, but I have been a fan of that brand, and I think it's been great. So really small blind today. It's kind of weird because we'll just both take a sip of one of them at the first, and we might or might not be actually drinking the same whiskey.
Correct.
And so it's,
I know which one yours are, and you know which one mine are.
yes, I actually forgot, but I
wrote it down, right?
I do. I have a note.
Okay, good. I wrote mine too.
Yeah. So, all right. Have you ever done a blind before?
No. Most of the whiskey I've had is party whiskey, cheap whiskey for fun. And then this has been kind of the only bottle I've ever had as like a celebratory, I'm gonna sit down and just drink whiskey type thing.
Yeah.
So
It's priced right to do that. Sure.
it is, yeah. And we'll see if I can distinguish it. Because
I went out and bought the Balvenie rum cask?
yes.
After you mentioned that one, you'd had that at a friend's house, and I thought that was a really excellent whiskey. And I knew you've mentioned the Ardbeg a couple times. You've been a fan of that.
Yeah, I like
So
that too. Actually, so I've had a couple sips
Okay.
outside of parties. I guess I could say that now.
I mean, that's more experience
than.
than I would say a lot of people in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of people talk about Bullet, Buffalo Trace, which I've probably had, but probably only had.
Well, I know you had some Buffalo Trace last night.
That's fair.
A little sip.
Maker's Mark, just making the rounds on the general stuff.
That's what it's about, just enjoying the different flavors. So what do you think so far?
My first guess is, I have no idea, but I'm guessing that this is the Glenmorangie, however you say it.
And so why do you guess that? Now
It's a little different.
You've had most of the bottle of this, and I haven't had either one of these, so.
Yeah, so I have maybe a leg up on you, maybe.
Okay.
Except for your experience, but it does smell different than what I thought this one would smell like.
So you think your blue one is the Glenmorangie because you think it's different than what you've had?
The nose, that's how you say it, right? The nose
Yes,
is just different. It's new for me.
I would say I get a little smoke in this one. I feel like it's just a little bit smoky. I don't think peaty, but just a touch of smoke. I'm not going to say tobacco or anything like that. Just some smoke.
I believe you.
It's not. There's no spice. There's no real sweetness. It's just it. And we're drinking out of these glasses, so I'm not getting a really strong note. And if you can hear it in my voice here, I landed in Arizona here, and my nose has been running, and I've been coughing and sneezing since we landed. I'm not picking up much of
warm welcome here for you.
I'm not sure if I'm allergic to your dogs or to Arizona.
Could be both.
I think it's a nice nose. It's for what I can tell. It's just light and a little bit of smoke, and that's really all I'm getting with my nose right now.
It's funny because we could be two totally different noses right now. These could be both the opposite whiskeys, but
I mean,
I just want to say there's something unfamiliar in this nose for me.
Getting any smoke in there?
I wouldn't say smoke, but I wouldn't also say, what did you say on the smooth, creamy, luscious notes of orange, honey, vanilla, and peach? It's not like...
Don't you smell peach in there?
It's not hitting me with fruit flavors.
No, I do believe inception's a real thing. And as far as when you're nosing whiskey, and if you read the notes and you think about it, sometimes it does ping and sometimes it doesn't. Do I smell honey? Maybe you just smell a sweetness and you interpret that as honey as opposed to actual it doesn't actually smell like honey. it just pings some note in your brain.
Like, can you distinguish a molasses from vanilla from
yeah, like
honey?
Brown sugar versus molasses. I'm not gonna be able to tell that in a whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, cheers.
Maybe. Cheers.
All right. First thoughts?
Much different than, I'm
what
gonna
you
say for
expect.
sure, this is the new one for me. This isn't Duncan Taylor, is my guess.
Okay. And I feel like this is a Duncan Taylor because I feel like it has a smoky note to it, which in reading the notes of the whiskey, it seemed like that leans towards the Duncan Taylor. But I haven't had either one.
Yeah.
It doesn't remind me at all of the floral notes and the brightness and that sweetness that I got from the Glenmorangie. But I mean, the 15 and 14 that I've had of this brand is, I think, probably gonna be different than this one, but.
We'll see.
Okay.
The cue for me is this next sip. Because if to me that doesn't taste like Duncan Taylor either, then I'll know I'm just off. It's been a few weeks too, so I'm not updating myself on the on the flavor.
I did a blind a few months ago with Tawny on the bourbons, and she's a Bullet Bourbon gal, and I'm a High West guy, so we blinded the Bullet Bourbon and the High West Bourbon, and I was for sure dang that was a High West, and she was for sure dang that was a Bullet, and we were both wrong.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And you both were honest, obviously. 'Cause,
Yeah.
You didn't remake the video halfway through,
And I did feel bad because I totally gave away what my thought was, and we know, we might be drinking the same or different whiskey. We don't know. When Tawny and I were doing it, we were drinking the same whiskey, and so it's just a little different than today's, and we were both wrong. It was
because
pretty
someone
embarrassing.
set it up for you so
Yes.
that you would drink the same at the same
Yeah,
time. Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Which I thought was nice. You could do it either way, I think. But all right, so you think blue,
I'm
possibly
gonna say Glenmorangie, however you say it.
that one's Glenmorangie. Okay,
Blue is
Glenmorangie.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, I'm not getting. There's no smoke in this one. Little bit of sweetness. I'm not gonna say honey. I'm not gonna say peach. I'm a little stuffed up a little bit. So
I'm gonna second guess myself here big time because I'm smelling something warm and sweet. Now I'm confused because this doesn't smell like what I thought Duncan Taylor would either.
well,
So-
you already finished that glass, so you can't really go back to it. But you
that's fine maybe, but you're right. Maybe I should have. I'm gonna take a sip of water too here.
okay. Well, I'm going in. I like it. It's kind of, I am catching a couple notes on this one. No smoke, a little bit of sweetness. So that's honey on the back of this. Maybe I'm just gonna say sweet. Sweet and dull. I think of the single malts as a little bit of dull because there's no bright rye spice, baking spices. There's none of that influence of the corn. The barrel influence is a little less because they're used barrels. So I just think of them as kind of dull, which sounds not appetizing, but I do enjoy it. So
I almost want to say I'm getting the toasted oak from the original one now. When I'm comparing, this is so much sweeter smelling.
okay,
We'll see.
I'm definitely going with Glenmorangie on this one, and I'm going with some floral notes,
Really,
and
you can get the floral.
it just reminds me of some soaps.
Oh, really?
Like hotel soaps. Not that I've ever had my mouth washed out with soap, but just that smell from a hotel. You get those. I've been in a lot of hotels in the past 23 years, and I feel like there's just kind of that weird, kind of artificial type floral scent.
Like a candle effect almost.
Yeah, I'll give it that. But none of that smoke in there. Like from a candle, you get a little bit.
There's no smoke in this one for me. I'm gonna say, I was so certain at first, but I'm gonna say for sure, no blue tape is the Glenmorangie. I'm getting none of the smoke.
Okay.
I'm getting some sweet. I just have no idea.
So you were saying this was Glenmorangie until you tasted this one, and now you realize that is off the profile that you really thought it was?
For me, this is so much further from Duncan Taylor than this was, although I was certain that this was far from Duncan Taylor. So
Yes.
maybe you forgot and you poured.
That happens sometimes. Like I'll drink a Scotch that I think is peaty and smoky.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I always have the Ardbeg next, and then I'm like, okay, this one is peaty and smoky.
You can compare.
And okay, this is there's no peat in this whiskey. I'll just I use the Ardbeg as my standard of peatiness and smokiness.
I wonder if the comparison would have worked.
And that's the Ardbeg Ugadal.
Like backwards. If you did a comparison backwards.
Oh, like if I did Ugadal first, yeah,
and then
Ardbeg
you went
first.
to something and
Yeah.
would you still thought peaty or not?
Well, I think so because you would have that imprint still in your brain pretty fresh.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. But honestly, you don't want to drink anything after you drink the Ardbeg because it's so strong and it lingers.
I like it though, for some reason, the Ardbeg.
You say that.
The one I've had.
I'm still, I have that one, the Ugadal.
Okay.
And I'm still, the jury's out on that one for me.
It's just, it's different.
Yeah.
You know, you're not drinking whiskey to have a 32.
I'm not turned
ounce
off by
Coke,
it. I'm just like, but it's certainly not my go-to is, and I've not done a lot of Isla Scotches, just a couple, so. Okay, so what do you think? Do you have a preference? Like, do you think, okay, so you think that's Duncan Taylor, you think this is Glenmorangie, but so do you like one more or less?
I don't want whiskey to be sipping like Coke.
Like this?
Or juice.
Like sitting here and just sipping it, yeah.
This, you know, I want it to have a bit of a bite.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. But this, which I think is the Glenmorangie,
Okay.
I think is a lot more palatable in the sense of like, I don't drink whiskey very often, so sometimes it makes me cough, sometimes it really bites.
Yeah.
This doesn't really bite as much. So for sipping, I would almost enjoy this, although I don't know how much I enjoy maybe sweet whiskey.
Yeah.
As easy as it is, it's very easy to sip.
I'm actually getting just a little bit of heat in my mouth as I finish this. And I didn't mention, this is, gosh, where's the ABV on this one? I'm sure it's also 40. It's 43 ABV, so just a little higher. And I am getting just a little bit of heat, just a little bit of in my mouth, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not murdering me, which sometimes, you know, when you talk about Ardbeg, that's tough to.
It's a little higher alcohol, I believe the Ardbeg is. So.
I would bet.
Okay, so you're leaning Duncan Taylor, Glenmorangie. You prefer this one for sipping over that one.
It's easier. I don't know if I'd say I prefer it.
Okay.
It's easier though.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I almost think I would prefer the what I think is the Duncan Taylor flavor. It's easier. So I'm gonna stick to my vote though. Duncan Taylor,
Okay.
Glenmorangie.
Are you ready for the results? On yours?
Are you sticking to your votes?
Yes. Well, I'm going to give you. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to say yes. What did I say? Duncan Taylor and Glenmorangie, and I do feel like this is a more complex whiskey.
Okay.
I like the smoke that I feel like I get in this one, and but I feel like there's more complexity to this one and more to discover. I mean, it is a $40, $39 whiskey. It's not as bright and yummy and delicious as the 15 and even the 14, but I do think this is okay. Well, I think this is a better whiskey than this one.
Okay.
And I think that's Duncan Taylor and Glenmorangie. And that's my thoughts, and I think they're both sippable. And if I was going to pour one to just sit down and chat and pour and sip on the whiskey, I'm going to take this one.
Okay.
So
Sounds
you
good.
want to give me one?
You want me to reveal first?
Sure.
Okay. So you're wrong. Oh, you got him backwards.
Okay.
So everything you had to praise on this guy, you can attribute to your Duncan Taylor. So I think you're a Duncan Taylor fan.
I am usually wrong. I did another one recently, and it totally changed my mind. I can't remember which blind it was or what whiskey that was, but.
So again, you're talking about a lot of smoky flavor from this one. Is there supposed to be? There's still supposed to be some smoky, because this says bourbon casks.
Yes.
So you could still get some of that. I like that you saved a little bit until after you knew too. I wish I had saved a little bit till.
Well, I've done this a couple times.
Yes, I can tell.
I've done it a couple times, and I've been wrong most of the time. So I'm not surprised that I'm wrong. And
you got to be wrong before you're right.
So, and actually,
Interesting, though.
like maybe that heat there towards the end, I'm actually getting some more smokiness now as I'm sipping it more, and it's just anyway. That's my thoughts, and I'm wrong, and that's cool. and you are right.
Was I correct? Okay, so this was Duncan, which I didn't think it was at first.
That's
I was
correct.
so certain it wasn't.
Yes.
Interesting. But this is really sippable, like we were talking about.
I
It goes
agree.
down really well.
I agree, and I guess I think they're both sippable.
I would say, yeah, because I do enjoy Duncan Taylor for sipping. It's just sometimes I feel like it bites a little more than I felt like this one did.
You know what I have not done is made a cocktail with a Scotch.
What would you make a cocktail out of?
I don't know.
Scotch.
I mean,
Would you do a soda? Am I gonna get lectured here on YouTube?
no. I've actually not researched what are the best cocktails for Scotches. Do you? Okay, so this is a total side note, but Claremont Steep is a Jim Beam product because it's an American single malt.
Okay.
So that's 100% malted barley. Okay, so it's similar to this, but it's from United States. And I went to Tampa, and Freddie No, the master distiller at Jim Beam, was there, and he was talking about Claremont Steep, and he said his favorite drink with the Claremont Steep is a sidecar.
I don't know what that is.
Me neither. I've never had a sidecar,
Okay.
but I guess I should make a sidecar with one of these whiskeys. I don't know.
Because what is a sidecar? Did you find out what goes into it or no?
I've looked it up, but I forgot about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about coffees?
Coffees? What do you mean?
Mixing coffee and whiskey.
Well, I might have poured some of that Duncan Taylor in my coffee this morning when you weren't looking.
Really? Goodness. Well,
Yeah, it's an Irish coffee.
I should have made that coffee better. You could have told me. I thought it was good coffee.
Yeah, I actually started to pour.
Did you really?
Yes. And I actually started to pour the whiskey in there, and I realized how small the pour of coffee was.
It wasn't much coffee.
And I was like, oh shit, I have like a 50-50 ratio here of coffee and whiskey.
Yes.
I'm like, I better sip this slowly.
That's
It's
funny.
at 9 o'clock in the morning, so.
Little salted black coffee
Yeah,
with cinnamon.
I kind of snuck it in there when you
So
weren't
you
looking.
made a cocktail this morning.
Technically, yeah.
And verdict?
It was all right, yeah.
Hot would be kind of weird.
What's that?
What if you did cold? Because you had hot coffee this morning.
Yeah.
It might have been lukewarm by the time you got to it, but
Yeah, I've never had I've had some Irish whiskeys before, just basically our Irish coffee before, whiskey and coffee. But usually they put some other stuff in there, and usually I've done that on cruises.
like cream,
Like
right?
it's a good way to start the day. I don't know what all they put in it, to be
I
honest
think
with
it's
you.
heavy cream is big on that, but again,
Yeah.
I would not know.
I actually don't know what the preferred cocktails are for Scotch whiskeys. What do you guys think? I mean, old fashions, whiskey sours, would that work with a Scotch? I mean, I certainly would work, but I've not done it.
I wouldn't think juice would be anything you really want to play around with.
I would definitely not put the Ardbeg. Could you imagine an Ardbeg? Well, people do smoked old fashioned.
It's fair.
So they maybe you already have the smoke built in.
Just add it to something that's already good. Maybe just give it a little bit of a
Yeah.
smoked out flavor. I don't know, because I know it's very popular to have cigars at the same time that you're sipping
true.
Scotch. Is that correct?
That's true.
Or other whiskey
Yes.
in general?
There are actually cigar blend whiskeys that are supposedly blended to be able to stand up against the strength of a cigar. And there's a very popular one out right now. It's called Joseph Mangus Cigar Blend. But dude, it's like $230, and I pass on that one. I've seen it at the store occasionally. I pass on it. So,
I've got to do a little bit more work before spending that kind of money.
yeah, I definitely have some bottles. Anyway, well, this was fun. Any last thoughts?
No. My little bit of research I'm going to do after this is cocktails with scotches, and then definitely see if there's anything we can do with this, because I like this as it stands, for sipping. So
Well, I'm going to see you again at Thanksgiving. So you're going to make me a sidecar at Thanksgiving?
yes, are you going to tell me what it is?
You got
I'll
Google?
figure it out on my
Do you
own.
have Google on your phone?
I'll figure it out on my own, and you'll tell me if it's right.
I've never had
from
one.
there.
I've never had one.
Well, okay, well.
You know what I'm going to do?
That makes it easier for me, actually.
I'm gonna make a video with a sidecar from Claremont Steep.
Okay.
And
On your own?
And I'm gonna tag Freddie No in it.
You're going to make it
Just
yourself and then
Well, yeah,
judge
yeah.
it yourself? This is great.
Yeah. I mean, that's
No, you gotta invite someone. Have another guest on. See how they feel about it.
maybe John. John's a big Jim Beam fan.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. Again, have you had a sidecar with a single malt? I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay, so
What about you? What's your takeaway? I mean, you're 0 for 2 now on these
I
blinds.
am 0 for 2.
And again, we tried to pick 2 that were going to be a little bit different, but I would say that these are still very similar.
They're fairly similar.
And you've never had either of these before.
No.
So I definitely had a leg up on you.
Yes. As far as guessing which one they are.
As far as guessing, yeah, because I could tell this one was very different, and I thought that this one was different at first.
There is definitely a small amount of smoke on there. Mm-hmm. And this one is this one, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Also a small amount of smoke.
Yeah. No, it's not super heavy on the smoke. The Duncan Taylor isn't either.
No.
So
I think they were both great whiskeys. They're great values, $27, $39. I think either one of those all day long. The 15-year I just bought, it's like $95.
okay.
But it is an excellent whiskey. Like, this is a good whiskey. The Cabal Estate Batch 3 that's out now, and the Batch 2. I might prefer the Batch 2 over the Batch 3, but they're both very excellent, and they're worth the $95.
Nice.
I think they're, when I drank those 12 scotches, even over the Macallan 15. Okay, quick reset. Cheap equipment, forgot to put the fan on, so we overheated. So we reset real quick.
It's hot in Arizona.
We're in Arizona. I don't know how hot it is here compared to Florida today, but anyway, well, this was fun. I was wrong and you were right, and I think got to experience 2 new whiskeys today. It was great. So thanks for letting me come to your house. And
Glad to have you. Yeah, glad to have some experience and some YouTube time here in the Arizona desert.
And now you can have another bottle of whiskey you can hide in your house.
Yes, yeah, we can't. Not every whiskey's meant to be set out for every party that happens on the weekend.
Yeah.
So sometimes you gotta
Exactly.
shelf these guys. But maybe if this lasts and this guy lasts till Thanksgiving, we can bring him along.
You guys are driving up?
Yeah, we're planning on it. Mm-hmm. So driving, makes a lot more sense.
Not that I encourage you to drive with open bottles of liquor in your car.
Well, they'd be in the back for sure.
The back.
Locked,
Definitely,
right? I don't know what state laws.
Yeah, I don't know
require.
either. Well, I bet it's strict in Utah, but
For sure.
yeah. Anyway.
No, we'll keep it in the back.
Okay. Well, guys, again, thank you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time for
See you next
Thanksgiving.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Guys, if you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to see more of my content. I do both whiskey and book reviews. You can look at my channel to see I'm reading 52 books in 52 weeks, including the 50 greatest books of all time, as determined by an algorithm this year, and links are in my channel somewhere down there. But for now, I hope you got a whiskey. Great. You know what to do, my friends. I hope you're doing something good and drinking something great. Cheers.